Video games are an art form. Video games are such an interesting medium because there's so many different reasons why you might enjoy one. Heck, 3 different people could like the exact same game for completely different reasons, but they all typically have one thing in common: that it's good. I mean, duh, right? You're not gonna call a game an all-time classic if playing it made you reconsider your life's choices. But I would argue that you can get just as much, if not more, enjoyment out of bad video games. Games that are so unbelievably terrible that they loop around to being fun again. The graphics are abhorrent, the design choices are baffling, the sound design is... These are some of the worst games you can possibly find. And they can also be the most fun and fascinating experiences gaming has to offer. Shovelware. This is a term for games that were only made to be sold. The quality or development time didn't matter to publishers as long as they had products on store shelves. Shovelware exists solely for profit, nothing more. If you claim that Monkey Mischief Party Time was born from passion, I'm never turning my back on you. Now that I think about it, what better place to start than with Monkey Mischief Party Time? No, really, please tell me I'm desperate. To those of you asking who the game's publisher is, why? I mean, isn't it obvious? Yup, you're not hallucinating. Probably. Monkey Mischief was published by none other than Activision. I'm shocked Microsoft didn't brag about that during the buyout. So Monkey Mischief Party Time is a multiplayer party game. Oh, I get it now. It's basically an assortment of quick minigames that each have different objectives and controls. So imagine Mario Party but with no boards, less minigames, and only monkeys. Hell for some, heaven for most. We've also got a single player mode, and since that's the only way to unlock the complete set of minigames, I'm going to work to complete it. I mean, I wouldn't want to host a party without every Monkey Madness minigame. I'd look like a total dweeb. I started out with this minigame, and this minigame is one of the worst things I've ever played. And it's the first of 20. Jackpot! Look, let's just start with the obvious. The sound design is so abhorrently awful, it transcends our mortal bounds and reaches a higher plane of existence. The voice actors give appropriately goofy and loud monkey noises, and yeah, they fit well on their own, but it feels like they were programmed to play after almost every action, and that causes every game to just become a cacophony of monkeys screaming. Now, you'd think that the mini-games themselves would be better. Actually, wait, no, why the hell would you think that? As a minigame collection for the Wii, Monkey Mischief feels the need to shove motion controls into every place possible. That's not inherently a bad thing, because Mario Party 8 demonstrated how much fun motion controls can be when they're done right. Monkey Mischief Party Time has bad motion controls, I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you. There's not a lot to elaborate on, they just make you do a bunch of specific movements that feel clunky to pull off. Guys, I'm getting worried that this game might not be good. And the actual theming of the minigames is even weirder, there's really no cohesion between them. Some minigames make sense. One has you fishing meat out of the lion's den, and one has you grabbing food while avoiding charging rhinos. And those both fit snugly with the zoo setting. But other minigames feel like they came completely out of left field. I'm pretty sure this one was just a fraternity hazing. There's one about tracing shapes to drop T-posing monkeys on opponents, one where you defend your food by pissing on birds, and even one where you're stuck in an electric chair. Okay, the electric chair one was a joke, but it seems believable that there be one, right? And that's my point, it's a confused mess of themes. Also, there's 3 electric chair games. It doesn't help that the icons of the menu do nothing to communicate what the game is like. Even after playing every minigame, I still don't understand what some of this art is supposed to be. Oh, I know what this is about. The minigames are a chaotic mess, the controls barely function, and the sound design is why I'll be deaf by 30. And yet, I absolutely love it. Monkey Mischief is the most pure example I can think of for how shovelware can be. The kind of game where every minute you're experiencing something even more baffling than before. You can't just get that kind of experience from good games. And hey, now that I've unlocked every minigame, I can enjoy this kind of garbage with friends. It's time to host a Monkey Mischief Party Time. Hey gang, who wants to play Monkey Mischief? Okay, well, the game is atrocious and no one wants to play it with me. But I'm still gonna keep it for the cover art alone. I mean, this thing could probably ward off demons or something. You ever just look at a gummy bear and think, if only you could play golf? Well, if you have, don't get any closer! But do I have the game for you? Gummy Bears Minigolf. Jesus Christ. Yeah, around this time there was a bizarre trend of candy companies trying to get in on the Wii craze, including iconic brands such as M&M's and Jelly Belly. So why not cash in by making games based on gummy bears? Don't you want to play as
The green one?
Look, at least the M&M's mascots have distinct personalities. The red one is sarcastic, the orange one has anxiety, the green one is hot. Are these generic cookie-cutter gummy bears charming or attractive? Yes, but that's not the point! Maybe they'll be fleshed out more in the actual game. There's only one way to find out. Let me add that to the list real quick. Okay, Gummy Bears Minigolf. Moving past the title screen takes us to... oh. So this is what it feels like to have a trial by jury. You can choose from several different colors for your profile, but no matter what you do, you're still going to be stuck with this stupid pose. After we've chosen our course, we're thrown into our first environment. Purgatory. You control your little gummy bear avatar here, and oh god, he sees me, he knows I'm here, turn the game off! You angle your shot with the D-pad and swing the Wii remote to swing your golf club. Simple, right? No! Angling works fine, but swinging is just bizarre. You have to hold down the B button and then swinging will fill this charge meter. However, just swinging won't hit the ball. You have to let go of B for it to work. Then your gummy bear winds up and swings. That might sound like a headache to play. And you're right, nice deduction skills, little buddy. But over time, I actually managed to get good at the game, and oh my god, hole in one? My gummy bear's the gummy goat! I still struggle to meet par though, because the motion controls are so sensitive. Anything but the tiniest amount of power will cause the ball to bounce off the hole. Oh my god. After using the pause menu though, I discovered that you can return to the same hole you were just on, with your score from the previous hole still intact, allowing you to have a fresh start. Yup, you heard that right, you can save scum in Gummy Bears Minigolf. Some might say this is cheating and damages my integrity. I'm playing Gummy Bears Minigolf for the Wii. Getting par on all the holes will unlock a new course, which happened to be a pirate-themed one, complete with giant gummy bears. Are those living gummy bears or edible ones? I mean, of course they're edible, but I want to know if eating one makes me a war criminal. Besides the main courses, there's also an option for custom courses. I got super excited because, oh my god, I can create my own golf courses? I can become this world's gummy god? The Gaudy Bear? But tragically, it just means you pick from the holes you've unlocked and play them as a set. Boo. The game actually saves your custom course after quitting. I didn't realize that until later when I accidentally chose my custom course and the menu text said hell. Well, I'm pretty much done with this game. But hey, before we leave, I can use the coins that I earned to spruce up my bear. This is what a true alpha male looks like. Speaking of alpha males, Space Chimps, America's favorite pastime. This is a tie-in game to the 2008 animated masterpiece Space Chimps. I have no idea what it could be about. This was actually one of the first games I bought when I started game collecting back in 2021. I saw it on the shelves of a game store I was visiting and, well, civic duty and all that. I wasn't really expecting much from this game. I wonder why. But to my surprise, it wasn't that bad. It's a pretty standard 3D platformer, but the controls are honestly solid and I never felt frustrated with them. I know that's the genuine bare minimum, but believe me, I've seen the other possibilities. It could have been much worse. Space Chimps has two playable characters, Ham and Luna. Both characters not only have different levels, but they actually have completely different movesets. Ham is more focused on action. He has various attacks and combos for taking out enemies, and he has moves like wall climbing and a double jump to traverse platforming challenges. On the other hand, Luna's levels have a greater focus on exploration and puzzle solving, and as her levels progress, you unlock more abilities to reach new areas. You'll find a butterfly that allows you extra jumps and eventually flight, and even a chameleon that allows you to shoot energy balls in first person. Why were people so desperate for Metroid Prime 4? Space Chimps was right here. The level designs are actually a lot more unique compared to other licensed games. The game starts with you running on top of a giant sand monster, and later levels include themes like a tropical forest, dungeons, and even inside said monster. Don't get me wrong though, Space Chimps still has its fair share of patented shovelware moments. There's this flying minigame that's just really slow and repetitive, truly a blight on Space Chimp society. Also, this is the only multiplayer option in the entire game, so if you want to spread the gospel of Space Chimps, you're gonna have to be sitting through a whole lot of this. Oh, and who can forget the advertising tie-ins, because in every stage you can find Dole branded bananas floating around. The idea that Dole bananas are the only universal constant scares me. Space Chimps isn't a top tier game by any means, but despite how it looks, I actually enjoyed it enough to beat the game, and I feel like that should really speak to the game's quality. You can even use the points you've collected on stuff like concept art and animation reels, and wow, a lot of this stuff is actually really good. Seems like the developers actually cared about this game. Hey man. Why the long fade? And as another bonus, you can unlock alternate costumes for the playable apes. That's really neat. I was really interested in this mime costume for Ham, because when you're playing the game, Ham never shuts up.
Ready to do this?
think I'm supposed to be doing something. I should have a heroic moment.
It would have been a cool detail if Ham didn't talk in the mime outfit, but no.
Okay, let's get busy.
Yeah, I'm sick of you. Enjoy your concussion.
There's gotta be more I could be doing.
Well, yeah, it is tax season. Alright, that's enough Space Chimps talk. You can take your hand off your heart now. Okay, let's be real, Shovelware is too easy of a target. There was so much slop made for that console that it basically popularized the term shovelware. But don't worry, shovelware has never truly gone away. If we jump ahead 2 console generations, we're greeted with Funtoon's World. You know how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words? This is gonna need a whole Bible. Funtoon's World starts out with a selection screen. You may call them playable characters, but I prefer the term Hellspawn. We've got Funtoon, a ninja, Mario on estrogen, me after playing this game, Panda Express himself, one of those giant bouncy balls that you can get in the arcades, and Charles. Funtoon's World is, without a doubt, the single most horribly cobbled together excuse for a video game I've ever laid my eyes on. And I cherished every second. The visuals are so bizarre, every single character looks like it's from a completely different game. It almost feels like a bunch of stock images chosen at random and slapped together. Which, I'm not saying the developers actually did that, but when I look at this, all I can think of is a 2-hour thrill ride through Google Images. As you can probably tell from the footage, the actual gameplay just feels amazing! Okay, but really, what do you want me to say? Do you really want a detailed explanation of these physics and controls? Do you honestly think there's more to the gameplay than what you're seeing? Come on, it's time to move on, we're all worried about you. I've got a few things to say about the level designs though, such as, why are these hedgehogs so dumb? Why are these platforms having a heart attack? Those are literally just piranha plants. Lots and lots of waiting. There isn't even a level design here.
How are load times this long on a PS5? This UI was brought to you by PowerPoint. Adorable, they learned how to use motion tween. I dropped my food on the floor. I lost 2 hearts in half a second?
Aw man, I didn't beat my high score. Wait, why did I play this more than once? Funtoon's World is so genuinely fascinating to me. It's so devoid of any sort of polish and creativity that I can only dream of what the process of making it was like. You'd have to actively try to make a game worse than this. Honestly, it's kind of inspiring. If you ever feel unsatisfied with your creative abilities and feel like you've hit rock bottom, no you haven't. Alright, look, we can't talk about shovelware without mentioning Life of Black Tiger. That's like talking about Grover Cleveland without discussing how he first met his wife when she was a newborn.
Life of Black Tiger drew attention immediately because its trailer was uploaded to the official PlayStation YouTube channel, and the public couldn't get enough.
So naturally, I spent my hard-earned money to play this game on my next generation PS5. The future of gaming, ladies and gents. 1 games. Yeah, I sure hope so. We start out with a delightful slideshow where we get pictures of the titular tiger and text describing his monologue. Animal called as human is what I dislike the most. They smell bad. You are not going to pass by here alive. Now, heading into the gameplay, I think I stepped on one of those once. Our first mission is to hunt down a group of hunters. It's a bit of a walk to get to them, but hey, at least we can take in these breathtaking environments. Ah, there they are. Time for some combat.
At the core of our philosophy for designing consoles is that game players are here for the fantastic games.
Ah, so exhilarating. Oh, hey, looks like I missed one. Oh man, this console cost $600. Oh sweet, we get another cutscene. I'm alone, and I'll forever be alone. But I'm not lonely. 5-second character arc. Most of the levels follow the same formula. You hunt down a specific group of animals in whatever location you're plopped into. Though if you want, you can also attack some animals that aren't part of the objective, such as these rabbits. Whoa, a female tiger wants us to face the wolf pack together. Let's do it. You know, some people spend their free time making new friends, or exploring the world. And just look at what they're missing. Once you win the fight, the game shifts to the riveting storyline of Mr. the Black Tiger trying to win over the heart of the female tiger. The loading screens even change from these edgy, brooding art pieces to humble pictures of the 2 tigers together, enjoying each other's company, and sometimes even the rapture. Eventually you win her over, and the rest of the game follows their adventures. They even have a baby together, and thank God that process isn't playable. Now we teach our baby to hunt. Boy, I sure hope it's the exact same gameplay as before, just with the baby following us. Yes! Woo! Yeah, the game gets way more repetitive after this point. Each mission just boils down to, there's a problem. Wow, you fixed the problem. Oh no, my baby is sick. Okay, problem solved. Oh no, my family's in danger. Okay, problem solved. Oh no, my wife is under attack. Okay, wait, oh my god, she actually died? What the f? They actually killed her off? Oh my god, death of White Tiger! After an intense final challenge, we see the Black Tiger successfully rescue his child and abandons them so they aren't hunted? I have no idea, this is confusing. And thus ends our story. Wait, what? What is this? So now we're playing as this random schmuck whose mother was killed by the Black Tiger. Hey, wait a minute. Oh my god, it wasn't random. Man, it makes me feel pretty bad for the guy losing his mother in such a horrible way. But on the other hand, I got an achievement. Get over it, buddy. The man's missions happen concurrently with the Black Tiger story, and after hunting down the female tiger yourself, we have one final mission. Revenge. Yes, to complete the story, you have to have a climatic battle to the death against the very character you used to play as. To beat Life of Black Tiger, you have to end the Life of Black Tiger. A truly shocking yet poetic end to this saga. Yippee, I did it! One orphan baby later and we've completed Life of Black Tiger. And for the final cutscene, we see the Rapture again. Oh wait, the lady on those loading screens was his mother. This is her spirit visiting her son after being avenged. Why would they use the final cutscene as a loading screen?
Look, I'm not saying Life of Black Tiger is good. If this game were my son, I wouldn't bail him out of prison.
However, I do think it's important to point out positive aspects of a game, even with this kind of garbage. The idea of playing as the antagonist at the end of the game and fighting your main character as the final boss is genuinely a cool idea, even if it boils down to just... Life of Black Tiger is a comically terrible game, but despite it all, I enjoyed my time with it, both genuinely and ironically. I'll never look at a tiger the same way again. Popeye, a shovelware game for the Nintendo Switch so infamous that it practically became the mascot for what the eShop turned into. This game is obviously based on the iconic Popeye franchise. In case you're unfamiliar with the series, here's a quick history lesson. In 1919, the comic strip Thimble Theater debuted in the New York Journal. And then 102 years later, this game was released. Okay, in all seriousness, this game was meant to be a remake of the Popeye arcade game from 1982, which was developed by none other than Nintendo.
Nintendo actually wanted to make a Popeye game earlier than that, but when they weren't able to,
they redesigned Bluto to be an ape and Popeye to be a mustached man in overalls. And oopsie doopsie, they made a cultural icon. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, check out this title screen. We have Popeye and Olive Oil in their iconic poses, and Bluto asking for a little scratchy on his chinny winny. The background actually seems to be concept sketches and model sheets for the characters, which is genuinely cool and fun to look at. Hot dog torso. Same, man. Honestly, this is a pretty clean if simple menu. Things are looking promising. Let's see how the actual gameplay stacks up. It stacks up perfectly. So instead of recreating the tight 2D spaces of the original arcade game, they decided to just make it an open 3D environment. Why? It keeps the main gameplay ideas of the arcade game, but that's really it. Olive Oil is still throwing hearts down and you're constantly being chased by Bluto. Or at least when he's feeling like it. Sometimes he just kind of breaks and stands around. I'm literally right in front of him and he's not doing anything. Hey, Bluto? You good, man? This animation right here, that's what sold me on the game. The sheer abruptness of the punch and how comically far it launches Popeye. I love goofy garbage like this. But what makes it even better is that if you collect a spinach can, Popeye will power up and you can give Bluto a taste of his own medicine. Prepare to meet your maker! The second stage shakes things up a bit. And by that I mean you're in a smaller area and you collect letters instead. The letters you collect are actually for spelling out a message. I don't really know what I can add on to this. Level 3 is another stage of collecting hearts and avoiding Bluto, but this time it takes place in this town area. But yup, it sure is the same gameplay. And that's all there is for stages. Every stage after this just cycles between those 3 environments. That doesn't mean there aren't other changes though. Starting on stage 4, you'll also be chased by this vulture. Basically, imagine Bluto if he was capable of spreading bird flu. So Bluto. Like Bluto, the vulture will launch you away if it touches you, though it's not nearly as funny without Bluto's comical wind-up animation. Rest assured though, you can still punch it with a spinach power-up. PETA, cover your eyes!
Another enemy you'll encounter is the witch? Excuse me?
Apparently this is an actual Popeye character, although she's more commonly depicted with white skin and called the Sea Hag. Hey, just like me. The sea hag throws objects down to the stage like olive oil does, but instead of hearts, it's these green skull things, which just bounce around slowly, and if you run into one with spinach, they just... Once the vulture and the sea hag are introduced, nothing else changes. You just cycle through the same stages and obstacles until you meet your demise. To be fair though, the ship levels actually have you spelling out different phrases each time, and it can be funny to try to guess what they'll say. Every girl loves a silo? Ugh, don't remind me. I still can't believe she cheated on me for Farmer Brown's corn silo. It's nice that there's multiple phrases, but each level will always be the same. Level 2 is always, oh Popeye, how I love you. Level 4 is always, every girl loves a sailor, etc. Maybe the repetition wouldn't be bad if the environments were interesting, but you've been looking at this footage for long enough. This game looks rough. So much empty and wasted space, and even when there is something, you can count the polygons on it with your hands. The town level at least looks more interesting, but ooh, the amount of stuff on screen absolutely tanks the frame rate. I have to imagine that each plank of wood on these houses is its own model or something, because the game is struggling to render everything. There's also a few NPCs standing around the level, who I presume are other characters from Thimble Theater. They don't do anything, and they're always doing the exact same thing. Sheeple. Look at this fisherman hopelessly trying to catch a fish. My guy, even if you catch something, it's going to be like 2 polygons. You'll still starve. This game is really bad, but for some reason I got kind of invested in it. Like, I was really curious to see what would change in later levels and what new letter phrases I'd see. I ended up playing the game for nearly 3 whole hours in an attempt to see how far I could get, and I managed to get some pretty good scores. I think I might have blacked out from fatigue though, so let me double check what my best score was. Oh. Another game that caught my eye in the Switch eShop was the Treflik Family, and I think it's pretty obvious why. There is something genuinely unsettling about these designs. If someone looked at me like this in real life, I'd scream. Naturally, I wanted to learn more, but the game's trailer left me with more questions than answers. I don't even think that the term game is applicable here. Apparently, the Treflik Family is an animated series that started in 2016, and this game seems to just be episodes of the show. And also a coloring book, too? The screenshots are all over the place. Some are screen caps from the show, while others are just pictures of the coloring book. Oh dear. Is this show going to be racist? Okay, enough yapping. Let's get this game downloaded. Let's boot up the game. Ugh. I know this sounds like I'm exaggerating to be a hilarious funny man, but these illustrations genuinely creep me out. They remind me way too much of Baby Einstein, which were movies for literal babies that were just puppet shows played to classical music. Those movies gave me genuine nightmares growing up, and I think anything that reminds me of it still makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I might need therapy. Before I see what else the game has to offer, I think it's only fair to get familiar with the source material. How about we watch Treflik's birthday? That sounds like a rip-roaring riot of a gander. It's supposed to be about Treflik's birthday, but then they get distracted and sing, complete with retractable teeth. And they're also joined by this woman who's their aunt? How? Why? Is that legal? Then they talk about the birthday cake, and that gets the aunt really excited.
So the aunt starts flying and steals the cake because she's apparently a witch, and they waste 2 minutes singing about the fact that she's a witch, and then they summon this leprechaun gremlin who's apparently their magic uncle, who then teleports the cake back to the table, and then they decide to invite the aunt back down anyways to eat the cake, despite everything that she's done, and it closes with the cast staring into my soul as Treflik hits the sickest dance moves he can!
So in conclusion, this show is pretty great. I hope they get 18 more seasons. So that's a taste of the actual episodes. Cool fact, there's actually a bunch more DLC episodes available. For some reason when I first played the game, the DLC just wasn't available at all. But when I tried again a few months later, it's all there now. So, was I missing out on anything?
And we have already met, correct?
Oh, Daddy also used to give Mommy flowers all the time.
You bet I was. The only other content available are the coloring books, and that's the main reason I'd classify this as shovelware. I know I ragged on the show a bunch, but to be fair, there's genuine effort put into it. Animation of any kind takes a lot of work, let alone this level of stop motion. But the game itself was obviously slapped together. It's just a handful of compressed video files and then a bunch of coloring pages for a whopping $. The very definition of sloppy shovelware. But hey, call me a pig because I love slop. Let's do a critical analysis of this children's coloring book game. Damn! Okay, yeah, there's nothing to say here. There's brushes, fill tools, and colors to pick from. It's completely acceptable and functional. So if you're really looking for a decent digital coloring book for your kid, why? Why would you want that? But I still messed around with these for a while. Allow me to present my finished pieces of art. Scene of the crime. A lower class meal.
Mom's new boyfriend.
Temptation by the demon. And finally, cultural appropriation. That's enough modern consoles for now. Let's rewind the clock a bit back to the Nintendo DSi, because the advent of downloadable games led to a new kind of release, applications. Cheap bite-sized tools that you can use, like calculators, alarm clocks, diaries, and even whatever this is. But man, it's really annoying having to switch between individual games when I want to do something else. If only I had one game that could do it all. MyDoItAll. Yes, MyDoItAll, a collection of games, apps, and tools all crammed into a single DS cartridge.
Now, this game was actually released before the DSi, meaning that it could act as an alternative to upgrading. So, does it do a good job? You know the answer.
Starting the game for the first time will prompt us to create our own avatar. I took the opportunity to create the version of myself I always dream of becoming. You also have to create a password and security questions. You know, because you want to be sure nobody can obtain the very personal info you put in here.
We start with several obvious choices. A calculator, a calendar, a world map. Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
But then you have crap like a periodic table. I'm genuinely asking, when would there be a situation where you want to use this? There's a poll app where you can write down people's responses to questions so you can perform your civic duties. And now we get into the silly applications. It's time to get a bit silly. First up, a spinner. Write down a bunch of options and let the spinner choose one at random. This is how they should decide prison sentences. We've got a soundboard where you can make all sorts of silly sounds to prank your friends, like gunfire or a bomb dropping. Don't play this game at an airport. There's a metronome, but not just any metronome, you can change the sounds of the beat.
You can actually record yourself playing the different sounds and make your own song with up to 5 tracks. If Beethoven wasn't deaf, he'd be shedding a tear. You can record your own voice and mess around with effects, which is basically DSi sound for those who didn't upgrade.
But of course, since it still uses the DS mic, hello, this is my voice. Clear as a crystal. You can roll dice in case you need to roll dice. Man, this game really does MyDoItAll.
So that's all the applications, but there's actually some mini games that you can play with your friends.
Box of Doom. You pick a box and pray to your favorite deity that you don't get a clown. Aw, man.
There's nothing to it since it's just a game of luck, but hey, it can work for Russian roulette if you don't have a gun.
And then we've got a handful of card games. Yeah, they're card games.
98, a solid game about adding cards to a pile and avoiding being the one to push it over 98. It's genuinely fun, no complaints here. Crazy 8s is Uno. It's literally just Uno. Next is, oh, that was it. There's only 2 card games included. Huh. I mean, they're fun additions, but I can't give the game much credit since they're just pre-existing card games.
Plus, Uno was already available when Clubhouse Games released 3 years earlier, and that included a whopping 40 more games. They dared to challenge the king's throne? MyDoItAll? Nope, it really doesn't at all.
Look, this game is a mixed bag, but there isn't anything else like it. What other game lets you screw around with voice filters mere seconds after you calculated your taxes? And hey, if you bought this game instead of a DSi, it's serviceable enough. I mean, you could do worse. Much worse.
Elf Bowling, because using reindeer would be animal abuse.
Elf Bowling was originally PC freeware that released in 1998, and it was so popular that it spawned a bajillion sequels.
But that's a rabbit hole I'm too scared to crawl into. For now. Nah, I want to focus on this, the GBA port of Elf Bowling 1 and 2, released at retail for a whopping $20.
Yeah, the original game may not be shovelware, but a $20 sloppy port of free PC games? That's prime shovelware material.
But Colin, if it's just the port that's lazy, isn't it unfair to label the game itself as shovelware? Honey, just let me talk about Elf Bowling.
The title screen gives us 2 options, the original Elf Bowling and Elf Bowling 2.
I think I want to put this one off for as long as I can. Elf Bowling 1 it is. Let's start by establishing the Elf Bowling lore. Santa's elves have gone on strike, demanding better working conditions and better pay from their boss. So rationally, Santa decides the best course of action is to bowl them all down, just like a real CEO. I'm not exaggerating for comedy, by the way, that's literally what the manual says. Santa canonically hates the working class. Alright, here we go.
Time to make like corporate and bust some unions.
Yeah, how's that for a worker strike?
Elf bowling's gameplay is simple. You press A at the right time to throw the ball. Wow, so engaging. The unique gimmick of the game are the titular elves that you're bowling, because they're constantly yapping. Throughout the game, the elves will constantly mock you with various sound bites and animations. Sometimes they'll hold protest signs, sometimes they'll do a synchronized dance, sometimes one will just fart.
Sometimes they'll... Whoa, hey, public indecency.
This gives elf bowling a charm that no other bowling game has. Sure, other games may feel better to play, but you'll never experience the bowling pins talking to you unless you forget to take your meds. The game isn't without its flaws, though. I swear I've thrown the ball the same way multiple times, but with completely different results.
Am I missing something here? Or does the game just have some sort... What? He just moved out of the way! How is that even fair? Well, Elf Bowling 2. Oh boy, here we go. Just like gym locker rooms. So here's the twist. Elf Bowling 2 isn't elf bowling. This is elf shuffleboard. You're aiming to land your elves onto the far end of the board to earn points. You have to be careful though, because if they get launched too far... Godspeed, soldier. In true shuffleboard fashion, this is a 2-player game, and you can strategize by trying to knock your opponent's elves off the ship.
You can even play multiplayer by passing your system back and forth with a friend.
The second person plays as Dingle Kringle, Santa's evil brother who runs a used ice company. They actually expand on his character more in the Elf Bowling movie. In case you haven't seen it, here's a quick recap.
Who pooped in a peanut barrel?
This concludes the movie recap. Shockingly, there's actually a bit of depth to the gameplay here. This icon here indicates the direction the wind is blowing, so you have to keep the wind's direction in mind when you're launching your elves.
And don't worry, it's still elf bowling. There's still plenty of goofy animations.
My man! So, Elf Bowling 2. It's pretty fun actually. The gameplay has some actual substance to it, and the goofy animations and theming really adds to the chaos. It's genuinely a fun time to play with friends. In terms of elf games on the GBA, we're now 2 for 2.
Well, I think I've got one more left in me. Let's take a look at another game from my GBA collection, Lizzie McGuire 2. Whoa, let me explain! See, I mainly bought this game because it comes with a full episode of the TV show on the cartridge. And yeah, it's just as bad as I hoped it would be. I have a real soft spot for videos and movies you can watch on your GBA, especially the GBA video line. Not only is it an interesting time capsule, but they just look so crunchy. I love it. As terrible as this looks, at least a majority of the shows were just 2D cartoons. Flat lines and colors translate passively to lower resolutions. But my god, live action footage just does not work in this format. It's just a garbled mess of pixels, and that's not even mentioning the sound quality.
In terms of features, well, you can fast forward and rewind. That can be a little funny. I bought this game purely for the TV episode, but I figured, hey, why not? Let's see what the actual game is like. Starting with level 1, wow, that animation of stuff falling out of the locker was actually pretty smooth. We've already seen the peak of this game.
Is what I thought, but as I went on, the animations are surprisingly fluid. Not even just for the standards of a licensed game, like this actually looks good. Surprisingly, it's the death animations that are the real highlights. Lizzie will sink into her own tears, flatten into a pancake, and get struck by her own angry thundercloud. These feel straight out of Crash Bandicoot, but no, this is for Disney's Lizzie McGuire 2. Why does this look so great? That question quickly turned into curiosity, and led me down a bit of a rabbit hole. I checked the credits for the animations, which are credited to a single animator, Jean-Francois Duval. A quick search revealed an ArtStation page with some pretty good environmental design. This could be him, but I needed definitive proof, which I immediately got on the About page. Pixel artist for Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS at Behavior. So yeah, it's him. It turns out that Duval went on to work as a level artist and modeler at Ubisoft, and sure enough, he's credited for several Assassin's Creed games, including fan favorites like Black Flag. Now, the actual game itself is nothing special. It's just a straight path to the goal with obstacles in the way. Exactly what you'd imagine for a licensed 2D platformer. But sometimes they'll change things up. Level 2 is a hybrid beat 'em up and shooter, and level 3 is a game of badminton. Like seriously, what? Lizzie McGuire 2 was such a surreal experience. It seems like generic shovelware slop on the surface, but digging deeper reveals genuine passion and creativity from the team. And like I've said before, you just can't get that kind of experience from a good game. So shout out to you, Duval. I hope Ubisoft treated you well. That's the true beauty of shovelware as a medium. Every single one has its own story, its own flaws, and occasionally even its own triumphs. So many people will just automatically write off a game if it's bad, which, okay, yeah, fair, but sometimes you just need a terrible game that you can laugh at. Sure, these games themselves may be terrible, but the memories and experiences you can have, those can be positive themselves. And honestly, if a game can still make you smile, maybe a bad game isn't so bad after all. I hope this talk has given you a valuable lesson in the importance of shovelware. And now for my hour-long analysis on why the M&M's video games are masterpieces.